We have seen similar controversial examples in the carbohydrate lecture already. But that really is the nature of this field, and to me, it's really exciting. Our field, as with many sciences, continues to progress and evolve. And it's the latest research that can take your knowledge to the next level. Just imagine if you took a flight across the country. You wouldn't want all of the technology from 50 years ago. You would want the best new technology and advances in the field for a pleasant and safe journey. And so it goes with nutrition and exercise. For example, how much fat should we have in our diet? Should we completely avoid dietary fat, as many people once thought? Or should we make fat a major component of what we eat? Can adding fat to our diets actually improve our body composition, or will eating fat just make us, well, fat? For now, these questions are a bit premature. So let's first talk about what fat really is and what fat actually does for us physiologically. Now, fats have many different roles in our body that go way beyond just how we look. In fact, we need fat for optimal health. Most people think of fat as what is underneath your skin. Here, it is an insulator acting to keep you warm. But fat is also found in your cell membranes, surrounding your internal organs, and in your muscles. It also helps cells to communicate with each other because fats are a major component of cell membranes, cell receptors, and chemical signals in the blood. Certain fats are even used by your body to make other important compounds, including some very important hormones. For example, the cholesterol found in many fatty foods is required to produce your steroid hormones. This is very important for body composition because some of the steroid hormones, like testosterone, can have a big impact on muscle mass and fat mass for men and women. It is often thought that the more fat you eat, the more fat you store on your body. But the truth is that excessive calorie consumption, whether from fat, protein, or carbohydrates, will result in fat storage. The American Council on Exercise classifies the average healthy woman as having about 25 to 31% body fat, and the average healthy man with 18 to 24% body fat. Fit individuals and athletes typically have even lower body fat than this. And of all the functions of fat, its primary role is to provide you with an energy source or an energy reserve that is much greater than any other fuel that you can tap into. For example, if you weigh 180 pounds or 81 kilograms and have 25% body fat, then approximately 45 pounds or 20 kilograms of fat is stored in your body. And because 1 pound of stored fat is thought to provide 3,500 calories, then you essentially have about 160,000 calories of fat to use at any given time. Now, assuming that you can burn about 100 calories per mile while walking, then in theory, you could walk about 1,600 miles on your stored body fat. That would get you from Atlanta to Denver. Of course, there are a number of other factors that would challenge this, but it's important to understand what a large fuel source we have in the form of stored fat. It's far greater than stored carbohydrate that can only provide a theoretical 2,000 calories or slightly more for energy. Fats are actually used to fuel most of your cells in your body, including contracting muscles in the arms and the legs. Fat provides 80 to 90% of the fuel you use while at rest, like working at a computer all day, driving in your car, or watching TV. Almost 2 to 4% of your body fat serves to protect and insulate vital organs like your heart, your liver, spleen, kidneys, brain, and your spinal cord. And the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, are dependent on fat in your diet for absorption and movement in your body. This is why you should take these vitamins with your meals. In fact, if you have a diet very low in fat, then you can't absorb these key vitamins. This would then impact how well your body can use other nutrients in your diet. And one advantage to fat is that it empties very slowly from your stomach. And due to this fact, eating fatty foods like nuts, seeds, or avocado can also decrease your hunger. In fact, many people report feeling fuller for longer simply having fat included in their meals. So, fats actually have many roles, and because of this, they must be included in a healthy diet. Now, let's dig into what fat actually is, the various types of fat that exist, and when we might be set up to either store fat on our bodies or burn it for energy. Just as carbohydrates are composed of monosaccharides linked together, fats are composed of fatty acids. This is the simplest form of fat, and fat goes by a few names. You may hear about fat as a lipid or even a phospholipid. All of these are considered fats, and in general, they are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms, just like carbohydrates. However, the carbon chain in fats is much longer than the carbon chain in carbohydrate. This longer carbon chain is a unique feature of fats and plays a pivotal role in energy production. But I'll get into that in just a few minutes. All fats also contain 9 calories per gram, making them the macronutrient that provides more calories per gram than carbohydrate or protein, which provide only 4 calories per gram. Let's break the forms of fat down a bit. Fatty acids are found in the food you eat. And there are 2 types of fatty acids that you've heard of already. These are saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. These are examples of 2 different types of fats. And fatty acids vary by the length of the carbon-to-carbon chain and the number of hydrogen atoms that surround the carbon chain. That's the definition of saturated or unsaturated. They're either saturated with hydrogens or not. And when fatty acids are joined together, you form a triglyceride. A triglyceride, as the prefix tri tells us, are lipids with 3 fatty acids that are attached to a glycerol backbone. Triglycerides are the major storage form of fat in the body and the major form of fat in your diet. On a food label, you will often see saturated and unsaturated fats highlighted. You may also see monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and trans fats listed. Well, let's define these types of fat a bit more now. Saturated fats are saturated with hydrogens and have no double bonds in the carbon chain. These fats, like animal fats in meat, butter, and coconut oil, are usually solid at room temperature. When saturated fats are the predominant source of fat in the diet, or just eaten in excess, they have been associated with increased blood levels of total cholesterol. And high cholesterol levels have been correlated in some research to increased risk of heart disease. However, not everyone agrees on this. In fact, new research no longer supports the idea that high cholesterol causes heart disease, although correlational data does exist. Some research also shows that excessive intake of saturated fat without balancing it by also eating unsaturated fat is correlated to other serious conditions like Alzheimer's disease, certain cancers, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. But again, new research questions the common recommendation that we need to lower our saturated fat intake from our diets. Some experts now suggest that high saturated fat, in combination with high intake of sugar and other processed carbohydrates, may be the real problem for our health and body composition. In fact, saturated fat may be less of a problem than originally thought, so long as carbohydrate intake is not excessive and balanced fat intake is in place. A balance of fat intake occurs when unsaturated fats are also in your diet. Unsaturated fats contain one or more double bonds along the carbon chain, meaning that, unlike saturated fat, they are not completely saturated with hydrogen molecules. There are two types of unsaturated fats, which are called mono and polyunsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats have only one unsaturated bond. These are called a double bond, while polyunsaturated fats have more than one unsaturated double bond. And an easy way to identify an unsaturated fat is that it is typically liquid at room temperature. But if unsaturated fats are chilled or refrigerated, they will solidify. Examples of monounsaturated fat include olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, and sesame oil. You also find monounsaturated fats in foods like avocados, peanut butter, and even nuts and seeds. Now, the polyunsaturated fats are also known as essential fatty acids, meaning that they are essential to eat because our bodies cannot make them naturally. Many foods have a mix of fat types, but some examples of polyunsaturated fats include soybean oil, canola oil, flax, tofu, soybeans, and fatty fish like salmon. Now, polyunsaturated fats include both omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. These essential fatty acids are needed for immune function, vision, and cell membrane integrity, among other things. Omega-6 fatty acids ultimately produce compounds that are involved with inflammation, blood vessel constriction, and immunity. All of these functions are important, and it's critical that they are well controlled. Because omega-6 fats lead to inflammation when taken at high levels, they are known as pro-inflammatory agents. So eating too many foods with omega-6 fatty acids, like heated vegetable oils and many boxed and packaged grocery items, can compromise health and optimal body composition, especially when not balanced with other types of fats like omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are beneficial for health due to their anti-inflammatory effects and effects on decreasing blood clot formation. Some omega-3 fats keep cells less rigid and more fluid. In doing so, they promote blood vessel dilation, which lowers blood pressure and